Hi, I'm Neil. Welcome to the channel. A number of years ago, before the wife and I moved here to Swedish Lapland, I'd walked away, properly walked away from paid employment, from social circles. I was borderline recluse, and I was probably the last to acknowledge this, although deep down, subconsciously, I was very aware of it. I was in a bad place. But around this time, my wife and my daughter, they started to talk. They were worried. My daughter had already made a decision with her family, and that was to move to the north of Sweden with our grandchildren. And here's where it gets interesting. My wife knew, and together they started to conspire. Rather than just tell me, they were hatching a plan, and it wasn't just to tell me or how to tell me that they were moving here as a family to the north of Sweden, but about whether the two of us, the wife and I, should follow them. You see, I was the last to know about this. They were worried about telling me, thought I would say no, which, to be fair, was a reasonable assumption, because we also have a son in England, and I have an elder brother who is not in the best of health. Leaving them behind was something I couldn't take light, so they worked on it quietly behind my back. I married the right woman. When they finally put it to me, of course it was a shock, but I needed a moment. I needed to speak to our son and my brother before making any decisions. I did so, but without hesitation. They both said, just go for it, and they gave us their blessings. Now, to add some context, I'd had a varied career. I was a truck driver, a motor mechanic. I was a company director on 2 occasions, a nightclub doorman. Different chapters, different lessons, different versions of myself. By 2021, I was semi-retired. I'd started to help out with my wife's business. She sourced, upcycled and sold vintage furniture. I became a delivery man. I was the truck driver, and she never paid me a bean. But whilst out and about, I got my own little side hustle. I started buying antiques and flipping them. It was something I got to really enjoy, and it paid well. I guess I was that modern day Lovejoy, if you remember him. It was good on paper, and yes, I got some enjoyment from it, but deep down there were still problems. And when the Swedish conversation came along, I saw it not so much as an adventure, but an opportunity to start again. But whatever decision we made, wherever we ended up, the important thing is it had got to work for the both of us. Now, we still had family in England, and at this stage our son had 2 young children, so that was 5 grandchildren in total, and that family split, that family separation is something that we'll never fully resolve. But we made the decision, and we did so with the blessing of my son and my brother, and we just went for it. So what happened next and how it worked out, well, specifically for my wife, it's an interesting one, and that's for another video further down the line. Now, I must be truthful, and I'm sure it hasn't gone unnoticed. Neither of us were spring chickens. This wasn't our gap year. We were in our mid-60s, heading north. I'm not saying it was the most sensible decision that I ever made, but truck driver, nightclub doorman, I guess sensible was never really my brand. So we'd sold the house. We packed everything that we had remaining into the trailer and the van, including the 2 dogs, for the journey north. It took 4 days across land and sea, and we had a lovely welcome from the family, the welcoming committee. But the house existed, it was real, and only having previously seen it on a grainy old video, we bought it online, so we took a bit of a flyer there. But it was surrounded by more forest and beauty than we were used to coming from England. It was quite disorientating at times. There was and still is, the occasional shape or movement on the edge of the forest, but you absolutely do not investigate. The first 6 months were spent making the house comfortable, livable, and of course changing the colour. And I have to give Jill full credit for that. We now have a Swedish red house. Then there was the admin, the various contracts, the broadband, the mobile phone, the electricity, the refuge collection, and the biggie, the person numbers. Without person numbers here in Sweden, you can't breathe the air. It's that important, it really is. So 6 months after arriving, something unexpected happened. It wasn't planned. An opportunity appeared, but it changed absolutely everything about our existence here, and it led to one of the most frightening days of our lives, certainly of my life, that nearly took my life. And that's definitely one for the next video. So one thing I promise you is this channel is going to be honest, the brutal truth. It's not a travel brochure. There's the good and there's plenty of good, and there's the bad. It's warts and all. And at this juncture, I'm just about to open the indoor cookout shelter on the edge of this lake here, one of Sweden's 100,000 lakes. It really is spectacular. And whilst we're on the subject, I can tell you that the ice out there is 40 centimetres deep, 40 centimetres thick, because I was ice fishing out there yesterday and I actually drilled it. But a bit of trivia there. So back to the channel before I finish. Please subscribe, like, do give me your comments. I really would like that. They are extremely helpful, and let me know what you want to talk about. But if there's anything here that resonates with you, certainly check back in. I'll be uploading video 2 very shortly, and in the meantime, thanks for viewing.